canceled, there's no way that you can stop me. I'm fully independent, there's no label who can drop me. Y'all been starting rumors, let me help you with some. Yeah, y'all can't cancel me. My life is scandal free. There ain't no sponsors taking losses cause the brand is me. My hands are clean, my family and my fans agree. Y'all can't cancel me for facts because you're mad and weak. How's a man say I'm clickbait if he gonna use this face to get clicks on his page? Y'all hypocrites are made. But I ain't tripping about these bullies, it ain't 6th grade. Go ahead and diss me trying to sell a couple mixtapes. I am not playing it safe, I said what I said, it is what it is.
I don't care if you mad at me, okay? Go ahead and change the channel. Don't waste your time trying to cancel me, okay? They love me cause they know that I'm it. Say what you want, I guess it is what it is. Haters can talk, but they can't cancel the kid. Go ahead and go on, try and say this is it.
Aaron Tuttle here. It's storm season in Oklahoma, and with that comes torrential rain, high winds, and hail. To protect your home and your family from these threats, the one roofing company you should trust is Ferguson Roof Systems. They've been providing the best in roofing services for nearly half a century. Ferguson is Oklahoma's full-service roofing company, certified with an A+ Better Business Bureau rating and a 5-star rating on Google. And with Ferguson now offering Class 4 impact-resistant shingles, now is the time to trust them with your home's roof. Get started today at FergusonRoofSystems.com.
Hey everyone, this is on a Sunday night about 9:35. What's crack-a-lackin'? Meteorologist Aaron Tuttle with you. We've got some storms to talk about. We've got some flooding to talk about. You may have read my blog I posted about an hour ago. A lot of you tried to read it all at once, and it crashed my site, and I had to reboot the server. I need a new server guy, honestly. That's really what it boils down to. Hey, if you're a server master at setting things up on the back end, working with the Amazon system, shoot me a message, a DM. I might get some work for you so I can get that up and running. It's not to deal with that anymore. But it's always, you get a lot of traffic. It can cause problems. But we'll get that eventually worked out. So thanks for your patience on that. Just hit the reload button anytime that happens, or give me a few minutes to get that thing up and running again. But I'm glad to have you. We've got Karen's already screamed enough with the rain. Well, Karen, you may want to check out then, because it's not looking pretty. If you don't want rain, this is not the forecast for you. But regardless, thanks for joining me out there on Facebook Live, and also YouTube Live and Twitter Live, and soon will be Gab TV Live here, probably another month or so. All right. Well, first things first. We lost the sun. It was a nice sunset. You can still see some clouds out there. This is looking at my AT's weather cam, but we're getting a little bit of a break as far as the rainfall goes at this moment, but that's going to be changing with time. All right, well, let's get on with it, shall we? First thing I want to show you, bump this up a little bit on the size so you can see a little bit better. This is tornado probabilities. And the scale here in the red, once you get to the deep red, is centered over central Oklahoma, including Oklahoma City and southwest Oklahoma. And this is the peak of where we are this week. So in other words, we would typically see the peak of our tornado season right here over the body of the state of Oklahoma and into the Texas Panhandle. Now, they are going to see some tornadoes out here. They already have for the last couple of days, but this is still going to be kind of the favored area here over the next, say, 24 hours, then maybe the 48 hours, maybe something like this. But I'm telling you, for the rest of this week, I mean, it is nothing like climatology says. So that's kind of how we're starting things on a somewhat quiet note when it comes to those naders. Now, we did get some rainfall today across the state, some much needed rainfall for some of you, and too much. You see these dark green areas, it's up around 3 inches of rain, and that moved right into the Newcastle, Blanchard area, and then back up into southeast Oklahoma City, Choctaw, more in Norman at one point under aerial flood warnings and advisories from just too much rain runoff into the streets. But get used to it. That's the kind of pattern we're in. It can happen very quickly at any point in time, during the day, during the night, when you get these heavy storms that move through. Now, when we look at the overall percentage of normal as far as rainfall goes, you can see who's seen enough, which is pretty much in this area here of the state for the most part, and then who hasn't, and that's down here. So You're only 36% of normal out here in southwest Oklahoma. So you're hurting. So we want more rain. Where do we want it? We want it right here into this portion of the state. That's where you want the rain to kind of help you guys out. And there's a little spot up here in northwest Oklahoma, Panhandle way out west. But for most people, if you take the state on average, we're not doing too bad. And therefore, the drought conditions aren't all that bad either. They're in the abnormally dry to moderate drought out here in that little area highlighted. This little spot down here will be updated. This was actually updated on May 11th. So with the recent rains down there, this will be eradicated. But we'll have to watch out for western Oklahoma, as we always do as we go through time. Speaking of which, flooding. Let's focus on that. So Weather Service has put out the flash flood risk, and it does have a higher amount down here in southeast Oklahoma. Still a slight here in central. Now, keep in mind this is a broad brush paint brush. I'm going to show you why. Even though the higher risk overall will be in this area, as far as a collective period, at any given time with these storm systems, you could have an isolated spot here, a spot here, a spot here, a spot here that goes up to near a foot of rain. You heard me right. Could be up to near a foot of rain. Just depends on if you get training, if you get one of these storm system clusters that just sit and just rain themselves out. So that's going to be kind of a focus. Matter of fact, we look at the hazard guides. We go back at the analog charts, and what I've plotted here is rainfall amounts in excess of 3 inches as we head into Tuesday. And the percentage in the graphic is up around 50 to 60%. So that's a good indication the pattern itself is a wet pattern and one that can bring us copious amounts of rain. Now, there is a little bit of a tornado risk as we head into our Monday. It's out here to southwest Oklahoma. This is the analog guidance. In other words, it looks at historical similar setups and what happened in that environment. So it does produce a little bit of a low tornado risk out here in the spots I highlighted a moment ago for Monday. And then for Tuesday, that shifts eastward along the Red River, which I mentioned as well. It's got a little something up here into Kansas. And then it kind of trails off and then kind of shifts out west for the rest of the week because the pattern will be changing. Now, the Storm Prediction Center does have an enhanced risk out here across southwest Oklahoma on into western Texas for tomorrow. When you plot in the tornado parameters, they've got a 5% ring way down here in southwest Oklahoma and into the rest here of the southern Texas Panhandle in northwest Texas. That's where most of the activity should be confined when it comes to tornadic potential. Now, wind and hail, again, kind of in the same area, but it does include parts of Oklahoma. So our typical, some damaging wind and, yes, some hail mixed in with these thunderstorms is what you can expect. Let's see, let's load this in this graphic here for you. And I'm going to shrink this down. So the Storm Prediction Center, this is the outlook over the next several days. And it does highlight, of course, what's happening out there tonight, out here for Sunday, but then also for Monday. And then there's Tuesday. And then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It has predictability too low because there's not really any good strong signals. Plus, as I'm going to show you, the atmosphere is changing. It's getting more of a tropical type atmosphere as we go to the middle and end of the week. That set the stage up for more heavy rain soakers than it does for any type of severe weather. Now, if we take a look, let me see if this new data's come in. And it has. Good. So we'll just use the brand new off the charts data here at 500 millibars for the jet stream pattern. So what I'm going to show you is the upper level low pressure system out here across the four corners, well, not four corners yet, it's in southwestern Nevada and California. And what happens is you get this color indicates energy or lift in the atmosphere that comes out, that kicks out ahead of the storm. And so as it kind of kicks out ahead of the storm, you get these ripples of energy that come through and help to generate some showers of storms in some of these clusters. So that's kind of pattern in until this upper level low moves by us. So let's take a look here. This is on course now. As we head through time, there's Monday morning. Here's Monday afternoon. So it is now pressed into the Four Corners area, and the tightness of the upper level low has weakened quite a bit. There's still a generic broad area of lift in this region, but the compactness, the strength has continued to diminish in 24 hours. That's a anemic wind field flow for us. So in other words, the winds then that eject beyond this little reach here get quite a bit weaker. And so your best impact is typically then as a result in this quadrant, which is kind of why we're focused more on the severe weather on Monday down there. Now, as we head into Tuesday, let's go ahead with time. So there's Tuesday morning. You can see a lot of energy, which is lift in the atmosphere, which is for thunderstorm initiation, which you need. That does make its way into Oklahoma. As we head into Tuesday afternoon, and the low is starting to lift up now to the north across Colorado. So it's kind of doing one of these deals. It kind of comes in, does this, and then it does this, rather than coming like this. So that's a big change for us. That changes how things evolve in our neck of the woods, plus the winds are a little bit lighter here because the storm's coming in a little bit weaker. But we do have a shot of seeing some tornadic activity for Tuesday as a result of this upper low ejecting here. Now on Wednesday, it fills in and moves into the north. Now, what we're going to focus on then is down here in Texas. We got some upper level energy down here that's going to start to work its way to the north. And this is where our pattern starts to change in more of a tropical nature. Because what you're going to see is a ridge of high pressure develops over here, a new low comes in here. And so in between is what we call the squeeze play. So let me put this into motion. We'll see what happens here. This only goes through Thursday morning is where it stops. But needless to say, it kind of drives home the point that this will become a little bit more tropical, a big moisture feed for us right up I-35. That means Texas gets a lot of rainfall, and so does Oklahoma in this pattern. Let's see here. Let's show you. All right, so let's see. I talked about those two things. Let's show you now a little sneak peek for Memorial Day weekend. Now, this is going to be for Friday, the 28th, so as we head into the weekend. I want to show what the gesturing pattern looks like. See the area of low pressure is way up here. See your ridge right here. What that does is it forces all the energy to go this direction. And what that happens is it doesn't provide a whole lot of action lift typically for Oklahoma. Winds are a lot weaker. You still might get a few storms of the dry line if the cap can break, but other than that, most of the action is up here across the northern plains. So if this pattern holds, our Memorial Day weekend may be quite a bit on the quiet side, which I'd be perfectly fine with. Last night we looked at some of the data and it indicated there might be some monkey business going on, but tonight's data says the opposite. So it's not a trend yet. We'll have to wait and see. So just kind of stick with me. We'll figure out as we get closer as to whether or not we're going to have to dodge any storms for that period. All right, well, here's a look at a short-term model guidance. And you know what? Let me just, what do I want to do? Yeah, let's do, I'll do this first. Just to highlight the fact, the only point I want to highlight here is that it puts these little yellow spots on the map, right? Well, yellow's up around 4 to 5 inches. This is a short-term model. In other words, this is just indicating how you can get those little circles, areas, just random of some flash flooding when you get rainfall that heavy over a short period of time. Now, if you take a look at the entire week, remember the pattern with the moisture that comes right up I-35 in Oklahoma? Look at these rainfall totals through to Saturday. So we don't even include next weekend, but we go through Saturday of this week. And you can see a foot of rain here or more in parts of central Texas and east central Texas down to the coast. And you have these darker brown shadings up here, which is about 6, 7, maybe even 8 inches of rain here in Oklahoma. Now keep in mind this is on a global smoothing. This does not take into account any small isolated areas that will experience some of these other heavier thunderstorms that just sit there over the same region. So that's what I'm saying. It's kind of more of a flooding concept here this week than it would be our usual, which is talking about tornadoes. All right, so let's how things ought to break down. Let's take a look at let's go to the latest forecast model from the HER. We'll show you how things kind of evolve. So we do have some storms out here across far southern and southeastern Oklahoma. We're all on the Red River tonight. Some of those have had a little bit of hail and wind with them. As we head into the next few hours, you do see a cluster of storms out here in the Texas Panhandle. They do move into western Oklahoma after midnight, there especially in the southwest, and then they kind of redevelop in the early morning hours here over central and southern Oklahoma, and they kind of move on through during the morning hours on Monday. And then Monday's kind of quiet once we get into our afternoon for the body of the state. And then with some daytime heating, that kind of bubbles up some storms there southeast. And we'll have to watch to see if anything comes up southwest. Older data had favored a couple of supercell storms out here, which would have the potential for a tornado. New data isn't quite as excited about that. As a matter of fact, it doesn't even bring this stuff down here until midnight. It does have another round out here in the Panhandle. The problem with this flow is it's very anemic. It's not a strong brute forcing event. It's very subtle. So it doesn't take much to get something to go, but the timing is all messed up and service patterns all messed up. So it is not classic May by any stretch of the imagination. All right, so there's 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. So if you noticed, it's another round primarily of overnight storms as we head into Monday night and Tuesday morning. Now, Tuesday in the morning, we got another batch moving into southwest Oklahoma. Let's see what happens during the day on Tuesday. All right, and that kind of congeals in a weak-looking decaying squall line through Tuesday afternoon over southern parts of the state. And then that moves on off to the south and east. Now, it's not a big tornadic indication at all, but what I can tell you, even in Dallas today, in just what seemed to be just a cluster of storms like this, there was an embedded tornado. It did do a little bit of damage. That's the kind of pattern we're in, so that's what we need to be watching for. But otherwise, like I said, flooding is the main thing. And we'll take a look here at the latest model data, just what it can kind of look at for the rainfall amounts. We remember earlier, we kind of showed you how it was hitting some of those pockets, and it's changed dramatically from the lunchtime run to the evening run as far as where those are. They just keep moving them around. Models really aren't ever going to be that good, and I don't even like the bullseye of dryness it puts up there in central northwestern Oklahoma. So what we're going to do is go to the NAM high resolution, and we're going to take a look at what it's kind of doing. Same idea. This goes through Wednesday morning. It gets these pockets of heavier rain intermixed, in some cases very little rain, but if you were to average it all out, it's pretty decent. Now, even down here in southern Oklahoma near Durant, it's got about 8 inches, almost 9 inches of rain there. Even down here toward Wichita Falls, there's 6 to 7. So that's what I'm telling you. Some people are just not going to be happy because they will get too much rain, and that will cause some problems. Now, let's take a look at how it thinks an idea of how the storms will evolve. And what's funny is I've been watching these models over the weekend, and they're so dramatically polar opposites and different from one another each time they run, because the atmosphere is just so pathetic when it comes to typical severe weather generation. So they struggle with what to do with this environment. They're much better when it's clear cut, when it's this kind of stuff with just a lot of rain and more of a tropical profile. They struggle with it as far as trying to predict timing and all that kind of stuff. All right, so let's see. Here's 10 a.m. Oh, let's see. What happened to our storms this evening? They come in out of southwest Oklahoma and they kind of fizzle. So it's not nearly as bullish overnight. It does have some scattered showers and thunderstorms, though, here in central Oklahoma for your morning drive, but not a whole lot as much as the others. And then let's see, the rest of the day, here's Monday. It's got a cluster of storms out here that come into western Oklahoma, move into central Oklahoma. Here's 2 o'clock, for example. Then here's a 3 o'clock hour. So I'm going to plot a forecast sounding. This is brand new data, so I haven't seen it yet. But you can see as far as the shear profile goes, this is all a westerly profile, and the wind speeds of around 15, 20 knots in some cases. So this is more of a pulse type cluster, maybe even a combination with a linear line of storms. It is not a tornadic line of storms. It is not a supercell line of storms at all. So each model continues to show different looks as we look through different periods of time. So it's totally possible we could not see a single tornado in Oklahoma at all this week. That is possible. But I can tell you one thing, there's going to be some heavy rainfall out there. All right, so there's Monday, that kind of diminishes. There's southwest Oklahoma with that new stuff that comes in that probably after 7 or 8 o'clock there. Forecast soundings down here in southwest Oklahoma during that time are a little different than they were here in central Oklahoma with that round we talked about. They do have a little bit of an elevated capping layer. We'll see what happens with that. The wind shear does turn with height, which is what you need for a tornadic storm or a classic supercell. However, the winds are extremely anemic. They're 10 knots, 15 knots. What typically happens with this, it prevents the hail sizes from getting too big, and it also prevents tornadoes from forming, or if they do form, they're very short-lived and very weak. So that's good news in all rounds, and even the look of the storms down there is just more of a linear look to it. Now you can get, as these storms kind of move through, you can get some winds as the storms kind of weaken and collapse. So sometimes you can get some damaging winds. Like this looks like almost, I talked about this last night, almost looks like a wake low signature back here. On the northern head of the comma, as it comes in, you can sometimes get a heat burst, and you can get temperatures that will exceed. I'll take a look at the plot of the wind gusts and see if that's what the model is indicating. And we'll go from there. But let's see. Let's just see what else it's got for us. So There's Tuesday morning, or excuse me, Tuesday afternoon, eastern Oklahoma. What else we got? We got some new storms there Tuesday evening here in southern Oklahoma. Let's take a look at the forecast sounding down here south of Lawton at the time. Now this is better for both hail and a potential tornado, but it's not perfect nor ideal. At least the wind speeds have increased around 30 to 40 knots. In many cases, it's not a classic supercell, but there is significant turning with height. So basically it looks like almost 70 degrees worth of shear. Now, for tornado generation, really the lowest few thousand feet, lowest few kilometers, 1,000 kilometers is what matters the most in getting a potential tornado. So also indicates some hail up around 2 inches or higher. So then we'll have to watch again southwestern Oklahoma Monday and southern Oklahoma looks like on Tuesday in the late afternoon evening hours. That does expand there into a big nasty squall line that covers a big chunk of the state for Tuesday night and a Wednesday morning, and that moves on through. So kind of, you know, it's hard. That's what I'm saying. It is very hard to give you exact times of where I can guarantee you dry hours. I can just tell you it'll be several dry hours both day and night. But when these clusters start to move through, they move through. So my advice to you is to use like my weather app. It'll alert you before as storms are approaching, and you can always open it up and take a look at radar to kind of see, you know, timing wise if you have anything to do outdoors. All right, so let's see if it kind of picked up on those wind gusts from those decaying lines. Let's see what it does. Oh, look at that. You see that? All right, so here's Monday. Let's see. This one does a little bit of wind with it, 2 of those thunderstorms. It's got a wind up around 60 miles per hour, all right, as those decay. So let's see what about the next round that comes in. Remember the little comma head thing I talked about? Let's see what that does. And there's a little indication here. Remember, you've got to visualize the upper surface low in this region. And the wind's coming around the back end of it. And here in yellow shading, that's around 50 miles per hour at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. So it could be a little bit of a gusty wind out there as those cells collapse. Let's see anything else. There's a little packet of wind here for that stuff on Tuesday afternoon in eastern Oklahoma. And then finally, a lot of wind with this last hurrah that comes in Tuesday night. Here's after midnight, winds up around 50 miles an hour. So it looks like wind gusts to 50, maybe 60 in some of these. But this is just standard, typical Oklahoma thunderstorms. Nothing special, nothing out of the ordinary. Like I said, maybe a couple isolated tornadoes down here in southwest and southern Oklahoma for the first couple of days of the week, but then we're going to shift into the heavy rain situation. Let me take a look at the tech model. I'm going to see if anything has changed. Let's see. Now it struggles too. They just don't do well in these patterns. Okay, so here's a look at temperature profiles over the next several days. We've got 70s for you for daytime highs. So sometimes there will be a few of you that will hit the 80s if you get plenty of sunshine where it hasn't rained enough. So these temperatures will vary depending on cloud cover and sunshine any given time. And overnight lows back into the 60s. So we're no longer in those 40s and 50s anymore, which means ground temperatures warming up, Bermuda grass happy. It should be growing like crazy from both thanks to the temperatures and also because of the rainfall. So that's some good news there. Okay, and then what else I wanted to show you? Oh, so let's step through this one more time. We're going to try to do our best to time out the storms. If you're joining late, you know, the brief summary was we're more of a flash flooding risk this week than we are a tornado risk. Maybe down in southwestern and southern Oklahoma Monday and then Tuesday for an isolated tornado or two. Sometimes these squall lines, you can get those little QLCS type tornadoes along the leading edge, but they're not the supercell kind. So we kind of almost have more of an embedded tornado somewhere at some point this week, kind of a pattern, which stinks because you can't really, you know, draw it down to the county level, and you have to kind of broad brush it. So you just kind of have to stay weather aware and use my weather app. It'll alert you if something like that were to happen. Because that happened in Dallas today, just in some rain, and all of a sudden just a storm got out of control and it produced a brief tornado. Otherwise it was just in a cluster of rain, and that's the kind of the situation we're going to be in. Okay, so let's take a look again. We're going to time things for you. We did have some storms. Matter of fact, let me load this up. I'm going to do something real quick. I'm going to load up the radar while this is while we're looking at this. Those storms there in southern and southeastern Oklahoma disappear. This is by midnight tonight. Still some rain up there in northeast Oklahoma. Still we're dry here in Oklahoma City Metro. And then after midnight, there's some storms there in southwest Oklahoma and maybe even far western Oklahoma before they die out But models do indicate there should be some that linger, maybe not in this particular model, but some of the others, as it moves into central Oklahoma overnight toward tomorrow morning. So do expect some scattered showers and a few thunderstorms for your morning drive in some of the areas. All right, so let's take a look, see if any of those storms still are kicking down there in southern Oklahoma. All right, nope, they've already fallen apart. They were going good there earlier this evening down here, but now they're toast. And there's a few out here in Texas. And these guys out here will clip far southwest Oklahoma. It won't be a big deal there. They're kind of mainly missing the mark there. All right, so let's go back to the forecast animation, and we'll go through this timeline. So now we're at tomorrow morning. Things kind of settling down for the most part. We do have a cluster of storms that try to come through in the middle of the day here in central Oklahoma. A little bit of hail, a little bit of wind with those. Not a tornado threat as it looks right now. That'll move to the south and east and diminish during the day. Then we have the southwest Oklahoma to watch for in the late day, early evening, so probably after 6, 7 o'clock. And we'll watch for an isolated tornado in this mess down here. And from 9 and 10 o'clock, you can see how it kind of congeals into more of a squall line that moves into the western half of the state through midnight. This is 1 o'clock in the morning. And then this is 2 o'clock in the morning. So you can see how it moves through Oklahoma City while most of you are already in bed. A little bit of wind with that one, as we talked about, gust at 50, maybe 60 miles per hour. That kind of diminishes Tuesday morning. Now we're back into Tuesday during the day, another little round that moves through. So you can see how it's just kind of one round after another, and our best step is try to time them as best you can. And then here's another round Tuesday evening. So potential tornado threat with these guys down here. As that little line congeals and moves east over southern parts of Oklahoma. And this is that squall line look to it, a little bow echo, which again you can sometimes get those little QLCS type tornadoes along the leading edge. And there's usually weak, EF0, EF1s, most of them, and very short-lived, like literally a minute or less. All right, so let's see, those will move off to the east. So it's a big wave of water that moves in eastern Oklahoma for the rest of Tuesday night and Wednesday morning. So that's we spent a lot of time on this map just to try to give you the best timeline as how these things will evolve, because you're not going to be able to remember all of this. You're going to try to plan, and it's a zoo. It's a total zoo. All right, let me just take a look at one of our newest models, and I'm going to see what it looks like. There's those midday storms here in central Oklahoma tomorrow. And then there's some supercell storms that tries to develop down here in North Texas, northwest of Dallas, but it keeps them out of Oklahoma. And then we've got that little cluster that does move into southwest Oklahoma again after 6, 7 o'clock. So that is the area to watch. Quick forecast sounding down here. Just I want to look at this different model. Same idea. Good turning with a height, but the wind shear is anemic, 10 knots. So not too concerned. Let's see, that will go into a linear convective mode. Midnight, diminish. Just random stuff just pops up overnight, Monday night, and then that kind of ends up quiet. Tuesday, quiet, and it's got some stuff that bubbles up in the afternoon. And there's little cells that just bubble up all over the place. Again, we'll watch for any of these that may have a potential to produce a tornado. I'll take a quick look at a sounding here. Not enough turning at the lowest levels. See, it's all southeasterly. Southeast wind, southeast wind, southeast wind, southeast wind, then it goes to south wind. Very little turning with height, so if that were to be the case, it really limits tornadoes and actually increases the flood threat. All right, let's see. Those kind of diminish on late Tuesday evening, and things kind of quiet down. So that's it. Bottom line is, it's a wet pattern, folks. Scattered showers and thunderstorms, different times, day and night. The whole thing's not a washout. You will have some dry hours, get some stuff done. It's just impossible for me to. I could spend 2 hours on here. We could try to narrow down timeline for every single one of these events. It's never going to work because it'll change. So this particular pattern, unfortunately, you have to be a lot more generic on just the outcome. So you know what the outcome is. It's just the specifics that you're used to, that you're spoiled with, aren't going to be able this time. It's a limitation of the science. I mean, we can't give you more. If we could, I would. That's what we got to work with here. So be careful with flash flooding. As always, it's turn around, don't drown. You don't know how much water is covering that roadway, how deep it is. You don't know if the road's washed out. There's a lot of things you don't know when you can't see it. Doesn't take much water to pick up your car and take it down a creek or a river, so be careful of that. About 2 feet of water, fast-moving water will do it. About 6 inches of fast-moving water will knock you off your feet if it's moving quick enough. And a little bit of hail, a little bit of wind with some of this, of course some lightning. And any tornado threat should be minimal and mostly confined to southwest and southern Oklahoma for Monday and then Tuesday. And I'll keep an eye on things, if we end up doing with a tornado situation, obviously I'll try to cover those as I can, but I really think it's going to get a lot of rain, and that continues off and on throughout the rest of the week into next weekend. So don't be surprised if some of you get a foot of rain and all that. Others 4, 5, 6 inches. I mean, that's too much, but it is what it is. Okay. Why you guys always yelling for Larry? Lori, I just looked down at my app phone here and just saw you just yelling Larry. Larry's like the biggest hero ever. Anyway, you guys are welcome for the update, and thank you for the stars here on Facebook. I see a lot of you sent me some tonight, so I appreciate that. Just glancing through here real quick. All right, I'll tell you what, I'll do a couple of questions, and I'm going to get it going because I don't think I could do much other than repeat myself. Taking you guys out on YouTube. Oh, Jim was late to the party. That's true. Better late than never, or nothing. Let me go to my Facebook page. By the way, as a content creator, if you enjoy the content that I create, I'd like for you to join my fan subscriptions on Facebook, or you can do Patreon, Subscribestar, number of options there for you. You go to my website, aarontuttle.com, and even in the description in this live video, there's several links you can take a look at to support what I do. All right, let's see here. So let me look through a couple of comments at the bottom. I can only see so many. Let's see. Yeah, Norman was a lot of rain, Tamara. Those streets flood real easy, especially certain parts of Norman. It's just always been the same way. Sam, I see your stars, and Carmen, appreciate it. Sharon, bless you as well. Thank you. Reese has got the right idea. Set up my alerts for AT's weather to go for my high school, for my girls' high school, my mom's house, my house, my sister's house. So I always know what's going on for the people I love most. Awesome. Thanks for using my app. And yes, that is the best way to use it. You can keep tabs on any place in the country on where you want to keep track of severe weather. It'll notify you if a storm is approaching that area and what it has inside of it. Let's see. You're welcome, Gloria. Thank you for the stars. So, outdoor graduation this week. Ours is Friday night. It's really possible, honestly, that a lot of you can get your afternoon stuff or your outdoor stuff done. It's just timing, man. I mean, it's possible. I mean, you really could. You could have all the dry hours you need to get what you want done. It's on the table. Now, Jeanette, so just so you know, on my weather app, you're mentioning all the other alerts. So you can actually go in to your settings. So you open up the app and you go to your locations. So let's say you have your home address. You put in their home. You can go and you can hit the edit button. When you hit the edit button, it pulls up all the alerts that my phone will send you a notification for. And if you don't want to be bothered by all those other alerts, you can just toggle them all off. And then just put on the most important ones to you, which is tornado, twisting storm alert, dangerous storm approaching, that kind of deal. But you can do that for both your current condition and any other location you enter. Nancy, thank you for the stars. You're welcome, Lesticia. I have never said that name before. Lesticia, I like it. No, Lestacia, sorry. Let's see what else. Kelly, thank you for the stars. You're welcome, Dan. Appreciate the nice comment. You got it, Sammy. Julia, thank you for the stars. Twyla, never seen that name before. Good to see you, Twyla. Let's see here. Just going through. We're trying to get our grass to grow. I had to go buy some sod because we had a couple of... Jeff is watching. Man, Jeff, I hope you're recovering well from your surgery. I bet you feel relieved getting that done. We had two big old holes of basically just dirt because we lost our trees during the ice storm. So I said, you know what? I'm not planting another one. I'm just going to fill it with grass. So I need that to grow. Brandon's having tornado dreams. Oh boy. Every now and then I'll have a tornado dream. They're few and far between, believe it or not. Kristen and Anita, thank you for the stars. And Doug, I see you as well. Appreciate it. Anita had a tornado dream as well. When you guys up with your tornado dreams? Cut that out. Uh-oh. Amanda's septic system's already full. David, thank you for the stars. Chayton, thank you. You're on a 4-week streak. Congrats. You're welcome, Amanda. All right, so I just kind of scrolled through a ton of comments there. Deborah, I see you also. Thank you for the stars tonight. You guys are sweet. Jordan, appreciate it. And Jamie and Beth and Stephanie. Stephanie, hadn't seen that spelling before. Shit, man, that's a bunch of new names I've seen tonight for the first time. I'm glad you guys joined me. All right. Well, that is going to be it for me, I believe. So you guys have been great. I will probably do another live tomorrow and see what, I don't know. It won't be in the afternoon. It'll be in the evening. So we'll see if obviously if there's going to be a tornado, I'll cover that. And we'll kind of see how things go. You know, I typically don't do live broadcasts for standard thunderstorms. But if it's a really high impact event, you know, like we had the hailstorm with giant hail a while back, or a big swath of damaging winds of 80 plus miles per hour, those I sometimes do cover. And then, of course, if there's any embedded tornadoes, I'll be watching for those. So if all that's there, I will cover it. Otherwise, you may not see me, except I'm just doing a live broadcast for the forecast, so maybe something like that. But either way, we shall meet again. So thanks again for your support, guys, and we will talk with you tomorrow. Good night, everybody.